I've had people in training saying they've come in from TikTok, right? So that would have been unheard of 3 years ago, right? So organic TikTok videos are being the thing that people are actually seeing to plant the seed, and then they come and look into us more. And they literally tell me in training, I watched all the videos of Jim on TikTok, or he answered my question, or this and that.
If you're an emerging franchise founder, you already know this. The jump from 10 to 100 units is where most brands stall out. Not because the concept isn't strong, but because the founder is drowning in chaos. I'm Guy Coffey, franchisor, franchisee, and growth strategist. I've been where you are, and I know what it takes to build a brand that scales without burning out, selling out, or losing control. That's why I created the Franchise Scaleup Show. Every week, I'll share the playbooks, the red flags, and the mindset shifts that separate the brands that stall from the ones that scale. So if you're serious about protecting your vision and multiplying your brand, hit subscribe right now. This is the Franchise Scaleup Show. I'm Guy Coffey. Let's get to work. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Franchise Scaleup Show with me, Guy Coffey, but more importantly, with my special guest today, Joel Kleber of Jim's Group in Australia, who is doing amazing things with franchise development and growing that very large franchise group already. So welcome to the show, Joel.
Thanks for having me, Guy. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I first saw you at an awards dinner in Sydney, Australia earlier this year, where you were getting one of the Franchise Executives of the Year award down there. And the gentleman next to me, who I consider a friend, Doug Downer, leaned over and he said, "This guy's going to be global someday." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, when you told me that, I was very
know.
surprised. I was very surprised.
Yeah. That was his first reaction. And, and so I followed you ever since. And I think what you're doing there is cutting edge and really, really interesting. Even the way Jim's has grown is very interesting. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about yourself with the audience so that we can kind of get a context on who you are, where you came from, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of like what you're doing now.
No worries, thanks for that. And thanks for telling me about that, Doug. I didn't know that. So, Doug's a massive, person in the industry over here, and everyone's all respect him. So to hear that sort of made my day. And what was a big fluke. I did not when I went up there, I did not think I was going to win it at all. And I said to my wife, because we flew it from Melbourne, and they go to me, "Oh, you should come up, and you might be a fair chance." And then they got down to 2, and I'm thinking, "Oh, these guys made me come up all the way," and I'm not, and then I got fair income. I was really, really shocked, but I was very, very lucky, and it was a massive fluke. But look, I've been at Jim's Group for 15 years. For those who don't know, in America, Jim's Group is the Jim's Mowing brand is actually the world's largest mowing and garden care franchise. It's got 2,200 franchisees, or you might call them locations. And then from there, we have all these different brands. So we have Jim's Cleaning, Jim's Antennas. Jim's is sort of known as doing everything. So the actual icon itself in Australia, the brand is a bit iconic. So it's the Jim's Mowing. It's really seen as an Australian brand. Everyone knows it. Everyone grew up with having a Jim's Mowing guy, with their trailer come and do the lawn. So everyone's known it for a very long time. There's a lot of nostalgia with it as well. And I've been there for 15 years, and I went through a variety of roles. I started as a part-time 2-day paralegal, actually, and never planned on staying there, but I was doing my degree, law commerce, at the same time. And I sort of just got stuck there. I was going in there, got really invested in the brand, and sort of went from department to department where they needed help. So I went from being a paralegal to then going to our insurance brokerage, and was there for 4 years fixing that up, and then went to our documents compliance department again, and went into a bit of an operations role. And then from there, I sort of just took over social media, video and marketing, and made us a social media video machine internally when we didn't have one. And in 2019, and when I did that, we had around 3,600 franchisees. And for my whole time there, we were always between 3,200 to 3,600. We could never get more. And Jim was always getting frustrated. And then in 2019, we've gone from 3,600 to now actually around 5,700, around 6 years. So we've had a really big net positive growth, and we haven't done anything different to our model. There hasn't been anything really different with our franchisors. What's the one difference for us was the video content, the online social media, transparent content model. And that was really much it. And so we're looking forward to hopefully getting to 6,000 and keep progressing and improving. But it's been a really good, interesting journey. It's a unique place to work, Jim's, and everyone who knows Jim's will know that. But it's been very exciting. I get to work really closely with the founder, Jim Penman, every day. And seeing how he works and watching him and learning from him has been really good as well.
Yeah. Well, what a journey. I don't know if there's any CMO out there that came from the part-time paralegal path.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare.
I had no intention of doing marketing at all or anything like that. So it was just what the business needed at the time. So I was sort of put into places where, he needed help here or whatever. So I'd go in there and I'd give a bit of effort and work and use some initiative was the main thing. Jim loves initiative. Not enough employees these days using this initiative. So I was always bugging him saying we should be doing this with websites or things that live in my area. And that sort of stuck out to him. And those changes we did improve things. And then obviously that gives you a bit more trust and credits in the bank to do more and more. And that's sort of where it evolved from.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, you got to work with him closely, and it's interesting for anybody that's new in franchising and starting out that the path you're on in the beginning might not be the place you end up at the end. You know, it's all taking on.
That's right.
Taking on.
It's more fun that way as well.
Challenges.
Yeah, it's more fun that way.
Right.
You don't want it to be a predictable sort of story.
I remember reading an article where you had gone from the paralegal part to taking on the insurance aspect of the business, having no insurance background, but ramped up really quickly and got that all shored up and then moved on to something else after that.
I'll tell you real quickly that one game, which was quite funny. We had 13 staff in insurance at one time. It was bleeding money. And then all of those staff except for one quit. And then but it's a long story. And then he had to get in this external person, which he did. And the guy's going, well, who do I have? He thought he had like a team to do. And he goes, you got one person, Joel, which had no qualifications. So I had to get qualified really quickly. And from there, we built it back up and we turned it around probably in the space of a year to be doing pretty well. So, yes, where there's a problem or need in the business, I've sort of gone into the try and help as best as I can. And that's how I've sort of evolved.
Great illustration for the younger people in the audience, younger professionals is don't be afraid to try new things. And especially now with all the, access we have to the world's knowledge and AI and things like that, you can kind of ramp up pretty quickly. Obviously insurance, you need certifications and licensing and things like that. But, don't be shy about trying new things. The more broad your base in the beginning, the more you can specialize later.
That's right. Everything's just learning, right? Everything's just learning, new challenge. You to learn new skills, how to answer phones or whatever it is. So everything's a challenge and adds to your skill set and makes you more valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mentioned that my, I hear you got a little one in the background. Yeah. That's awesome. Because one of my main things is about how franchising affects families and really increases the richness of life. So to have that input from your daughter is just great.
Yeah, hopefully she doesn't do too much more, but she probably will.
It's okay. It's all right. That's part of the journey. Tell us about what I've noticed the most, and I've shared this with so many people. I'm on a board and I've shared it with the CMO there, is your model for video, particularly as founders or key people, and then franchisees as well, and people from the franchisor team, and how that builds trust. I think I've been a little bit liberal with a stat, but tell me if I'm right. And if anybody I've told this stat to, if I was off, I apologize, but the overall lesson is still there. I think I read at one point, you said that on average, people that come to your discovery days, as we call them here, the final step in the sales process, on average, people have watched 22 and a half hours of Jim's videos before they show up. So it's not a question of building trust in this last phase of a sales process. The trust is always there, and it totally changes the sales dynamic.
Yeah, it's around about that for sure. Some even watch a lot more. I've had people tell me they've watched 100 hours or 300 podcasts or whatever it is, and that would be more than 300 hours doing that. So everyone in training has watched videos, and if they actually haven't watched the video, we generally it's a big red flag for us because we know they haven't done any research at all. So and with us, for example, our franchise isn't 200 grand, 300 grand, it's 20 to 30 grand, and you'd think more people would be less inclined to do research because of that amount of money, but it's generally the opposite. So that could be their life savings or their sort of all the money they've ever had. So they tend to be well more researched than a lot of people that might be 200, 300 grand franchisees because they've maybe got a bit more business experience. They understand investing a little bit more. They don't maybe need all that stuff, but we found that at our level, the more content you have, the more people will consume just to validate that decision or their gut feel on wanting to do this, that it's need that extra reassurance to pull them along in the background. And that's why video is great, is because you don't have to be involved with anything. It's just there and they can consume at their own pace and they'll come back into you the whole time. And I don't know what the average time is for all franchises, but I always hear the figure in Australia anyway, 6 to 9 months before someone having the idea to be a franchisee than actually starting. So what are you filling in that 9 months, right? So having all that content for them to consume can just fill that gap and build that trust with you, and then they'll come to you with questions, and hopefully it marries up to what they're hearing and seeing online. But that's been the biggest thing for us. But yet they watch a lot of stuff, and it's all different stuff too. It's not just one thing. They're watching a variety of things as well, which I do find very interesting.
This is a quick break to thank you for listening. Every week, we are getting more and more people listening to the show, and this growth is helping me to improve it and make it even more helpful to you. My intention for this show is to help more people win in business and life. To that end, I have a favor to ask. If you know of an entrepreneur that would benefit, please hit the share button and shoot them a text with the link. Back to the show. Make this a great day. Okay.
Yeah.
So for someone that's, doesn't have 5,000 units yet and a media team or anything like that, you've said it over and over again that you don't need all that to start out.
No.
Like you can have the basics and just put things out there. Like, how do you divide up the content? I'm sure you have a plan now. Like, it's going to be X percent franchisee testimonial kind of stuff. It's going to be X percent, the franchisor behind the scenes or the team or things like that. But in the beginning, what should someone's got, say 10 units or 20 units, and they really have something and they want to, get more franchisees, let them know what they're doing. What would you recommend as the first kind of types of content to put out there? Founder content.
Yeah, I think long form content. If a founder could actually interview the franchisees long form, I've seen some people start to do this. I think it's really, really powerful. Obviously, they're going to be happy franchisees doing it, but I just think long form content, especially because it's a big decision for people to buy a franchise, and people think everyone's got a short attention span, and that is true in a way. But if you're investing all your money into this thing, you've got a long attention span. So making sure you interview all your franchisees, whether it be out on location with them, or you could do remote, even it's up to people like that. The other one I do think going out and actually showing what they do on a day-to-day basis and trying to show that in some sort of vlog style is a really good point of difference. I don't think enough people actually show what is it actually like being a franchisee. Every brand has the 3-minute testimonial on their website where it's really flashy B-roll. It's really well produced, but that doesn't show the true franchise experience. There's no real meat in that. So I think that's gone. I think having a 3-minute testimonial on your website homepage, that's fine, but people want way more beyond that. And then obviously the founder himself. I think the founder should always have a personal brand piece or some sort of interview with themselves, whether it be FAQs about the system, how things actually work, being really transparent about why they do things a certain way. In Australian franchise, anyway, everyone hides everything. So it's always hidden behind NDAs. You can't find anything really substantial on people's websites. Whereas in American franchises, I actually find you guys to be really transparent. Like Rolling Suds or Augusta Lawn Care, the two I look at, they have full financials and stuff on their webpage. And in Australia, our franchisors will be like, oh, no, you can't do that. But I think that's really good. I think franchising needs a lot more transparency around it. In Australia, there's probably more negative feeling when you say the word franchise to someone on the street. Generally would be you'd get the term it's a scam, or they take all your money, or they take 40% of your income. That's just the general feeling from people over here, because we get smashed in the media, unfortunately. Even though franchising does a lot of good for a lot of people, the media just smashes it. So you've got to be as transparent as possible about everything online to build that trust, so that the person who does think that originally can look at the content and go, well, hang on, I'm wrong about this whole thing. I'm going to go further.
Yeah. I've seen, and I've just because my son's in Australia and I talk to Doug a lot, and Americans are, how do I say this? I am American, so I can say this, is like, we're a little bit more braggadocious. We'll talk about our stuff as much as we want, whereas Australians are a little bit more closer to the chest. Even if they have something to brag about, they won't, not like an American would, right?
Well, you're way better at promoting yourself. And I think that's what people here don't do enough. And that's what we've sort of taken the model off. But yeah, Americans are far more promotional and Australia's a real problem with tall poppy syndrome. So tall poppy syndrome, or, Brits are the same, whereas Americans are generally like, you go for it and you go do it, whereas Australian wants to sort of pull you down, right? So you can tell from our franchise ads all the time, when you put an ad up with someone saying, I went from making 50 grand a year to 300 grand a year, then the first comment you'll see is, scam, no, you didn't, giving 50% of your money to gym, blah, 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 blah. So they're trying to tear that person down, right? So that's generally the Australian attitude we sort of come up against. So the best sort of disinfectant to that in a way is just to have long form, full transparent stuff about your system online. And the people actually wanting your business who are going to invest a bit of time to research and to learn about it will find that and realize it's not the case. And then that's a good opportunity for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think your point about the it's the same in America. It's 6 to 9 months generally
Yeah.
for someone to go from like, oh, maybe I'll do this to moving forward. That's a long sales process. And we have a saying here, time is the killer of all deals, right? So, that's, if you have a pure horsepower salesperson, they want to close that deal as fast as possible, but you're not going to rush someone into if they're doing a QSR here or something like that, it's $1 million,
Mm.
right? So like, you don't want someone making a very quick decision on an investment like that.
Mm.
So it's like, who has the content to keep that lead warm and interested over that period of time is going to have the advantage over a competing brand that doesn't have anything besides their glossy website and canned testimonials or something like that.
That's right. And the buyer journey is completely changed. And every 3 weeks, we have anywhere from 90 to 120 new franchisees is in training. And I have a good chat to them because they all know me from the videos. They've all listened to them. They come up to you and they tell you. And the discovery journey they go on is so different now to what it used to be, right? So back in the day, acquire on the website, get an information pack, meet the franchisor, and then they're in training, or that's it, right? Now they're going to ChatGPT and asking, is buying a Jim's Mowing franchise a good idea? Give me a comparison table between Jim's Mowing, blah, 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 blah. And they're researching that. And then they're coming in, and then they're actually, I had a guy tell me Jim's Mowing, ChatGPT said buying Jim's Mowing was a good idea. So he came to training because of that. So that's happened. And then in Reddit, for example, now, because we're a big brand, someone might go, I'm thinking of buying a Jim's Laundry Services franchise in Reddit. And then people who've got no idea about franchises can come in and then put all their 2 cents in and really negatively influence that conversation. Facebook groups is another one too. We've got really big finance groups in Australia where people might go, I'm thinking about buying Jim's Mowing. Is it a good idea? And then, as you can imagine, because it's a negative thing in Australia, franchising, you get smashed. So that's why the content for us does so good, because people will have an idea and that people are trying to talk them out of it, but they're watching all this stuff and there's so much volume of it and transparency in it. They're going, this cannot be right. And then they actually go further and do the investigation process. And I hear that from people in training saying, my friends talked me out of gyms, or I didn't know much about franchising. I thought it was a scam, but I just got into the podcast and listened to all the YouTube content, and there's just so much transparency and honesty about it. I thought there's actually something to this. Then I inquired, and then I went into it and went to the observation day and heard it was complete opposite. So that's where it's been really good for us, just to sort of counteract people who've got their heart set, or they've got their mind set on doing a business, and it just offsets all those detractors and those negative people who've got no idea about being a franchisee in your system. It just really offsets those opinions.
Yeah, especially the long form. I mean, it's easy to make something look good in a short or a clip or something like that, but when it's a long form and they hear the conversation, it's so hard to hide deception and those kind of things that you're not doing anyway.
I agree with you 100%. I always say all the time, Guy, I say it's very hard to lie in a long form video content episode, right, or a podcast, and that's why we do them, because it's very hard for people to hide that. And in those interviews, I always ask, what's your most challenging experience be? Or if they say something that, like, mate, we had a guy last week say, my franchisor at the start was not very good at all. He didn't support me, right? Most brands would then cut that out. But I said, no, we'll keep that in there, because we obviously want to be as transparent as possible. We don't remove anything from it as well. And people do appreciate that transparency, and they come in training and say, I can't believe how honest it was, or this episode resonated with me because he said this, or you guys didn't try and sell it like this, all that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah. Authenticity shines through. Like
it does, but brands say they want to be more authentic, and they just don't. And then they have to get the video approved by legal, or has to go through 7 approvals. We're going to cut this, we're going to cut that, we're going to cut that, and they say, well, we want to be authentic. It's like, no, you don't, because you're getting rid of all the actual true experience. Because running a franchise or running a business is not easy, as people would know. There's ups and there's downs, and you want people to come in to know that that's actually going to be the case. You don't want someone coming in and going, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to make $1 million, I'm not going to have to do anything at all, right? So you want to be really transparent about your systems, and it's almost like a filter in a way to give you better candidates too, because everyone's going, we want high quality franchise leads, but you don't put anything online like talking about what is a high quality lead or what's the actual reality of running the business. And we found that the more open we are, the better the people are, and the better the prospect are coming to the system.
It makes sense. I'm curious, because I know you dive into the data a lot. One of the, as you said, these ideas we did some of that with our system. When I'm going to be doing another one, we are going to lead with this. But in terms of viewership, it seems to me like the behind the scenes of here's a day in the life of a gym's cleaning service. Here's a day in the life of a franchisee of Jim's mowing.
Mm.
And that, you see the guy, loading up the mowers on the truck in the morning or whatever. And then someone that's looking at this as, I'm going to do this semi absentee and I'm not going to be out there doing this. It depends on the brand. But what are you seeing as the most viewed videos? Is it something with Jim doing the Q&A, or is it the vlog in the day in the life of?
The most viewed videos, the most viewed ones that get the most views are literally the gym Q&As on TikTok. They're very rough. It's literally, I don't edit anything. I get 20 negative questions and go, Jim, what about this? What about this? What about this? It just shoots off the hip, and then that's the video, right? But some of them get like 200,000, might get 100,000 or 150K views or 50K views. And I've had people in training saying they've come in from TikTok, right? So that wouldn't have been unheard of 3 years ago, right? So organic TikTok videos are being the thing that people are actually seeing to plant the seed, and they come and look into us more. And they literally tell me in training, I watched all the videos of Jim on TikTok, or he answered my question, or this and that. And that's been the actual thing that's got him into training, this organic Q&A with the founder. So that's been really good because it's low effort, and plus it suits Jim. Jim doesn't like doing videos overly much. He's very introverted, and he loves Q&A format. Doesn't like scripts, doesn't like anything else besides that. So it works for him too. But it's weird how that's been one that gets the most views as well. So the organic TikTok stuff, yeah, just with that platform. And then the day on the road stuff is generally the most impactful because we shoot for 8 hours, but we condense it to an hour long day. But the thing that people find the best is those when they're driving from job to job and we talk in the car, and they're trying to drive on the road and they give a really good, genuine answer about what they're doing, and people find that really impactful as well. We're actually trying to do more of those with our franchisees. And then the long form podcasts, they don't get a world of views, but the people who are watching the Gym's podcast are interested in being a franchisee. They're not there to be entertained. They're there to be educated. So, an episode might get 600 views or 400 views, but imagine I said to a franchisor, hey, you've got 400 people watching an interview with a franchisee for at least 14 minutes based on retention, and that's all organic. You don't have to worry about it. So that's the way I look at it as well. But definitely organic TikTok for whatever reason at the moment. That's the one that's working for us.
Wow. I would not have expected that. Like we didn't do much on TikTok. I think I still have that thought in my head that it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok is for dances and stuff like that. Obviously wrong.
Well, the age is skewing out. The age is skewing older from the data. So, 35, 40-year-olds are scrolling through there, and average person's like 4 hours a day on that, right? So if you've got, it's pretty, you might have a 35, 40-year-old person who's sitting on there, obviously not much to do. So maybe they are looking for an opportunity, and they're just scrolling through content. And the great thing with social media now, guys, it's just moved to the interest-based sort of system. So the amount of followers you have doesn't really matter. So if it's a really good bit of content and that person's been showing interest in starting a business or whatever it is, if you've got really good content, you will generally find them.
Nice. It puts I imagine it takes a load off the salespeople as well, because they have a lot of content to point to and things like that.
Yeah, well, that's when you're right, Guy. That's when I thought. That's when I was looking on reflection. We've got 280 franchisors, and they do their own sales. So 280 franchisors, they're essentially supporting the franchisees and also doing the selling. And they would spend maybe the bare minimum on Facebook ads, maybe a directory or something like that. But what I found, what we've done inadvertently, wasn't my original plan. We created so much content for them. So when people were looking at being a franchisee with them, they would stumble upon all the videos and stuff in the background, and the franchisor wouldn't have to do anything. They were doing their follow-ups and stuff like that, but the person was getting educated without them really knowing it by consuming all the content as well. And now that all the franchisors have it in all their marketing materials, so they've got all these mountain of assets which they don't have to pay for, that we've created at head office, that they can use for their divisions. And I'm constantly interviewing all their franchisees every week. So we do that for them as a service off national office as well. So we're creating video content for the franchisors without them having to pay anything, which has been a big unlock for us as well.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Use of do you guys have national ad funds?
Yeah. We have a branding fund. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And does that fund some of the the team and the
Yeah,
equipment
so the
and
branding fund
the time?
the branding fund pretty much funds all of it. So the branding fund's used for promotion of the brand, and all of our content's a mixture of stuff. It's not just franchise related stuff. It's a bit of B2C. There's a whole bunch of different elements to it which promote the brand. So yes, the branding fund does most of it.
Okay. So for someone with 20 units here, something like that, you would recommend start doing interviews with the founder. They can do it basically with the equipment that's probably in their pocket or their purse,
Yeah, phone's
right?
fine. Phone's fine.
Yeah,
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 I've seen a lot of guys in Australia now sort of taking what we're doing and they're starting on the phone. They need a couple of the DJI mics and that's it. But that's all you really need. And I think phone footage is great because it has a little bit more authenticity to it than the well polished stuff. But the thing is,
yeah.
I think people want to control what's put out too much. And there's a lot of cutting and get rid of this and get rid of that. And I think that sort of slows things down. So I think just being a bit more, courageous with
Raw.
your content decisions can really help. And I got a bit of kickback in the early days when I was doing that because my whole thing was about being transparent about what we do to offset any negativity. So we talk openly about fees. Hey, if you don't want to be a franchisee anymore, you can pay $5,000 and walk away. Now, franchisors originally didn't like that. But I sort of said to him, well, look,
Sure.
they can do that. And that's a really good part to get out there because a lot of people sort of think, well, am I locked in for 20 years or am I locked in for 10 years? These are things that they don't know that we actually have in the system. So you've got to be transparent about it all. And once they saw the results in regards to the numbers and they're increasing in their regions and stuff, they sort of let me do what we could do. And we don't get it wrong all the time. Like Jim's a straight shooter and probably too honest sometimes, but we've just found that that's been our model. But if you're starting up with 20 or 10 units, I think investing in a media person. I remember Gary Vee in Crushing It book when he said when you start a company, you've got 4 people, and he said one of them should be a videographer. And I really took that to heart, and I think that's really, really true because there's a great example in America. You'd probably know him, Mike Andes, and Mike Andes is
Augusta Lawn Care,
Augusta
right?
Lawn Care, right? He's got probably one of the biggest personal brands in franchising. I think he spends 1.6 million US on his content team, so he has 10 full time on his media team, and that video content's the marketing across his 5 businesses. But he started back, I think 7, maybe 8 years ago, and you can see his first videos online, which is literally just a phone, him against the wall talking about 5 tips to grow a lawn care business, right? And from there, he's just absolutely scaled and become a machine. But yeah, I think phone, just start, be consistent, and you'd be surprised what happens and how many people actually watch it. And that's the thing what franchisors probably don't understand enough of is that it's out there for forever, and that video you make 3 years ago is going to keep delivering for you 3 years later. So a lot of people see content as a cost. I always see it as an investment because that video from 6 years ago from our Day on Road series, for example, back in 2019, I've still got people citing that in training as being one of the main things that got them there from 6 years ago. So you always got to see it as an investment, and it's not a cost, and that investment will hopefully deliver you return and build that trust needed for years to come.
Yeah, it lives on there for whether it's on YouTube or wherever. That video that you shot in 2019 could have made a sale last month.
That's right, and that's
2025.
exactly. And I haven't calculated exactly, but that video has definitely influenced probably more than at least 2 million, 3 million in sales for sure.
All right. Well, this is a really big subject, and I know we have to kind of wrap this up, but I know that you are one of those people that I see and I'm like, oh, what's he doing in AI? Because I know that's a real interest area for you.
Yep.
And with AI, I go down the path and I use it not to the fullest extent. And I understand what people are doing in the beginning, and they keep talking and it goes right over my head. But I even saw that you made an AI agent of Jim himself.
Yep.
And how was that? And was that just like a goof, or are you using that somehow?
No, we use it. Our actual franchisors now put that into their initial inquiry email. So when a franchisee inquires, they go have a chat with Jim. And the great thing about it is I can actually see all the chats, so I can see what people are asking about being a franchisee, and it's a lot of questions that I wouldn't have thought of. And then we can create content from that. So it's an American company called Delphi.ai. And I've always had this vision. We've done so much content with Jim over the years. Like we've got terabytes of content with Jim. How can I actually use this content to be useful? And I always sort of thought, well, if he does eventually kick the bucket, which won't be, for 25 years or something, we've got all this training data, which we can make a digital avatar of Jim and chuck out a hologram and it comes up and it's going to be pretty accurate because we've got all this stuff. But it's called Delphi.ai, and basically it's a living knowledge base of yourself. So you put in all the stuff that you've done, YouTube podcasts, you can collect Slack chats, you upload your X profile, whatever it is, and it converts it into tokens. And then obviously that information then can be accessed by someone chatting with it. So his digital twin is trained on, I think it's 1.6 million words of content. And you can also, it doesn't pull the answer from outside of the knowledge base. So it only sticks to that. So it doesn't make up stuff. So it's all from his knowledge. And if you can't answer a question, he says, I can't answer that. And we get a flag saying your Delphi got stuck and couldn't answer this, and we can put a manual answer in. But that's been really, really good for us. And I can actually see all the chats. We have it on our website. And we actually, at one stage, we had a live version of an avatar come up. So you could actually go on a call with it. And like you're sitting there right now, yeah, you'd come up and I'd ask you a question and the AI avatar would start talking to me. So that's stopped at the moment. They're going to relaunch that when they're a bit more happy with the technology. But at the moment, people are using it, and they're having like 30-minute, 20 sort of pronged conversations with it regarding being a franchisee. And the great thing about it is too that the answers actually cite the source. So for example, if it pulls an answer from 4 different places, one might be a YouTube video, one might be his book, one might be a podcast. I can click out to that and go to it as well. But that's been a really good one, because it's not just your typical chatbot, which has, trains it's on your website and that's it. So it's got all this different stuff, and people can ask it a whole variety of questions, and it does a pretty good job. And then if anything gets stuck, I sort of collate them and give them to Jim and say, what's your answer here? And he gives them back and we upload it again. But it's pretty big in America. Like a lot of the people in private equity and some big people there are just getting these things done, because when they're not available, their staff can access their digital twin. What would Brian do? Well, I've got this situation, Brian. What would you do in this situation? And they can ask it and get a pretty good answer, as opposed to having to email the founder. So a lot of people are setting these things up. So the technology is called Delphi.ai. There's a few of them that are coming out. But like, it's a really cool concept, I think. Like, so for example, Guy, you're doing all these podcasts, right? So how can you maximize the value of that? There's so many different things that AI can help you repurpose it with now, but you could upload all these, for example, into your Delphi.ai, and you could have the Geek Coffee Delphi AI, and people can pay like a $10 a month subscription, for example, to access your knowledge or chat with you at any time. And that's data that's only trained on what you've said in your podcast interviews or whatever you've given it. So I think it's a really cool thing to have in place, and it's quite affordable for the access to technology you get.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they know that they're talking to AI?
Yeah, it's clear, very clear. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've actually, the video avatar, the company wasn't that happy with it, so they've actually pulled it back, and they're going to relaunch it back when it's better again. So I know Hagen just released the live avatar, but because there's a delay in processing, so it's not a real time thing. So you talk to it, has to process it, and then we come back, and I thought it was pretty good, but you could definitely tell. But now you can talk with our one on a phone call. So if you go over the phone call and talk with it, you can talk with Jim, or you can do the chat one. But the chat is really, really good. But I think it's a great thing for just for people in general to do. Like, people are using it for situations like if they want to live on like their digital memory, or who they are as well, for their kids or something. They're getting these things, and they're putting all their notes and all their things from over the years into it as well. So it's like a digital living memory as well.
Wow. All right. Well, I'll definitely check into that. I saw that and I was like, I wonder how they're using that. And that's brilliant. So very cool. We have a construction services company down in Arizona, and we have AI for phone, the chat. But we can see it real time. And yesterday was at the American Thanksgiving holiday, and my wife was just on it, and she was watching this chat, and the potential client, and these are kind of big ticket items, was like, is this a bot? Because I don't want to talk to AI. And so she just interrupted that chat, and she's like, now, this is Stephanie. We can talk right now. Want to hop on a call?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Yeah, I have that as well. We have companies here who put it right up front and saying you're talking to an AI. If you want to talk, continue, let us know. And some people care and some people don't. But it's going to be an interesting one to see just the actual, how do people react to knowing if it's an AI or if it's generative AI using marketing? Like, what's the reaction going to be, or does it help your brand or hurt it? So yeah, it's an interesting time. We get pitched all the time, as you imagine, Gary, with our call center. We take like 600,000 calls a year. And we've been showing it to Jim and stuff, and it's just for us, for our users anyway. We just don't think it's quite there yet as well, because we've got we've got to get things right for our franchisees, because the lead that goes to the franchisee, if there's an error with it or anything like that, it causes a lot of issues and discontent. So It's still for us not there, but it's very exciting. And I have seen it for businesses which don't have like a big franchise network work really, really well. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's another 2 to 3 years. Most companies will have to be using it in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. The tide has started, so it's not going away.
No,
So
it's
you might as
definitely
well
not.
get good at it.
Well, the one that blew my mind was the if anyone saw it, the Google Gemini 3, and that it's released this new thing, which might sound simple, but they have this infographic function now. So you can basically upload your data. It produces, if you're on LinkedIn all the time, you see all these cheat sheets and things like that.
Sure.
And they're
Yeah.
manually made by someone on Fiverr, right? And it can be expensive and time consuming. But the new thing from Google can literally make one of those things, get all the words spot on in high detail. And that's developed in probably like 6 months to a year. So it's amazing how quickly these things are going. And
Wow.
it's just moving too quick. Like there's a new release every week, and the keep up's quite hard. But yeah, there's so many tools out there for people. Like if you're a 10 to 20 unit founder as well, if you invest a bit of time in learning how to use AI to actually help you repurpose your content and really help distribute it, which you can, that can really be a good unlock for you as well. And you can probably pretty much do the job of 2 to 3 people at a smaller level now.
Which is super important because at that level, I don't know if it's the same there, but the area between 20 and 40 units is kind of a danger area because you have initial capital. You're probably not royalty self-sufficient yet.
Yep.
And you've got a team that you need to have to support that. So, the efficiencies there, I imagine no matter what size you want to be efficient, but there it's like make or break sometimes. So if you can do that, or have someone on your team that's really good at it, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it definitely helps.
Everybody needs a Joel. Everybody needs a Joel.
Well, that's the thing. Like Jim, I'm obsessed with it. Like I love it. Like all day I listen to like Marketing Against the Grain from HubSpot, which I think is awesome. It's a really good one. Just listening to this sort of stuff, and via osmosis, like I don't pay attention the whole time, but via osmosis, you're learning it, and then you start experimenting with it, and then trying to implement it, and then it sticks. But we actually teach it in training now. So we have our new franchisee training. I teach social media now AI, and that's only a new thing after the last 2 years. So we show them ChatGPT, we give them example prompts, what it can actually do, and the adoption rate's been amazing. So 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when we're doing it, who's used ChatGPT? You might get 5 or 10 hands. Now I get everyone in the room. So I think it's had it had 800 million users after 2 months or something like that. It's the quickest adoption of anything in the
ever.
Yeah. So it's amazing, right? So it's sort of a non-negotiable now. So I know some people might be I don't like technology or I don't want to do this, but I think it's becoming something where you've just got to really, really have a crack and do it. And the great thing with AI is that the prompting principles of how you can actually use it doesn't just apply to using ChatGPT. It can be taken to Claude or to Gemini or whatever you want to use. So getting the basics right and learning them, regardless of what you're going to use, can apply everywhere as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen the advice, get good at one of them because a lot of the tools that you can use in that one, you're going to be able to use in other ones and you'll get familiarity on how to work around things. So
absolutely.
Well, Joel, thank you so much. I know it's Saturday morning there. It's Friday afternoon here. So thanks for waking up and taking time out of your family time and sharing this knowledge with my audience is mostly American. So, but we're global, franchising is global. So I imagine it'll be watched everywhere else too. So just wanted to thank you so much and wishing you all the best, continued success.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on and reaching out and let me know about the Doug. That made my day when you told me that. So I didn't know that. So appreciate you doing that. And I've had a look at your content. Great work on what you're doing as well with your personal brand. That's ahead of the curve with most people. So keep it up and I'll keep an eye on your journey as well.
Sounds great. Thanks, Joel.
Nice. Thanks.
That wraps up today's episode of the Franchise Scale-Up Show. If this gave you a strategy you can put into play, please share it with one founder who needs the help. You might save them months of pain. If you're ready to go deeper, whether it's building your support infrastructure, accelerating territory sales, or preparing for private equity, go to guycoffey.com. That's GUYCOFFEY and book a free franchise growth strategy call. I only partner with founders who are committed to scaling without losing control. If that's you, I'd love to connect. Until next time, protect your vision, move fast, and scale smart. I'm Guy Coffey. Talk soon.